Hey, Honors Physics, Mr. Hausman here. You may remember we introduced the concept of work back when we were looking at the principles of potential, kinetic, and mechanical energy. And we defined work as any change in the energy of the system. Well, a change can be a gain or a loss. And the way it works is that you have to have a force applied on the object, and the object has to physically move. It can gain height, it could be moving forward, you could throw the object, but if you have a force applied and the object moves, there will be a change in energy of the system. So there's two kinds of work. We call positive work anytime there's energy transferred into the system. So look down here at this kind of idea, right? If you have positive work, the energy is going into the system because the system is gaining mechanical energy. The system can also lose energy, and we refer to that as negative work. In some textbooks and some applications, they will refer to this as work done on the system versus work done by the system. Prepositions are really hard to understand why, but that's the convention. That's how a lot of physics and engineers use that. Work done on the system is going to get moved. If the system moves another object or fights against it, that's work done by the system. Now, the principal equation that you're going to be using is work is force times distance times cosine of the angle theta between the force and the distance. Now, distance or displacement, if you want to think of it that way. So if they are the same direction, so what would be an everyday example of that? Take an object and push it with your hands with an applied force. And what you're going to notice is that that object is going to probably gain some kinetic energy if it's on flat ground. There's the work. The work is causing the system to gain kinetic energy. When would a force be opposite the direction of motion? Well, that would happen if you have a moving object that experiences friction. Friction is one of the most common forces that's 180 degrees. So kinetic friction backwards, but yet the motion, or the delta x, is forward. And you probably recall already that due to how cosine works, cosine of a 0-degree angle, that means they're going the same way, is a positive work. If friction is against you, the angle that shows that you're against is 180, and that's negative work. Now, what about this special case? You may not realize the implications of this quite yet, but in physics, sometimes forces are perpendicular to the motion. Know when that happens? That happens when an object is in circular motion. The object is moving in what direction? Tangent, but yet the force is 90 degrees. And we refer to that as centripetal motion. And in centripetal or uniform circular motion, there is no work done. The system, even though there's a force on it, does not gain energy. It maintains its energy going round and round in a circle. And we've already done the bottom of this page. I did do also this page before we kind of started to apply it. So specifically, we're going to now examine how do you develop the formula for work, and sometimes it's referred to as work NC. The meaning that it is a force that is causing the energy to be non-conserved or not conserved, however you'd like to think of it, okay? So you have to think about all of the possible forces on an object. If you kick a ball, well, that would be work that would be gained by the soccer ball. If you swing a tennis racket, that's an example of positive work on the ball itself, right? Positive work. We're going to specifically be focusing on how does friction change the energy of a system. And you know that the fundamental formula is force times distance times cosine of the angle between them. But because friction is always against the direction of motion, theta is 180. Isn't that always true? If something's against you, it's 180 degrees opposite. Cosine of 180 is always -1. So therefore, work due to friction, let's add that, due to friction, is negative. Okay, now what's the formula for friction? Let's do a quick reminder. That's mu kinetic times normal. And normal is usually, right, the opposite, right, of all other y forces. Sometimes it's opposite FG, sometimes it's opposite G. So let's look at an example where it would be. So here's a simple example. We've got kinetic friction sliding along. We've got normal. We've got gravity. Here we would see that gravity is just opposite Fg. That's an easy one. We all remember that. Why? Because there are no other y forces. On hills, though, the normal force gets a little more complicated. So in this case, the normal pointing out of the surface and Fgy. So how would you find normal force here? That would be cosine theta of the hill. There's going to be two thetas in our upcoming problems. You got to be very careful. If there's friction on an inclined plane, you do have to pay attention to, is it the angle of the hill or the angle of the forces? So this is the angle of the hill, cosine theta of the hill, times mg. Okay, so let's look at three different ways that we're going to write this formula. Okay, so we are going to start with this statement. Anytime we see that there is work done on a system, and specifically, we're going to be doing calculations with friction. So if you hear about friction, you have to add this. And this is the new part, right? We've been doing a lot of problem solving with these. Just total mechanical energy is conserved. So let's do some substitution. What's the formula for work NC? Well, that would be force times distance times cosine 180. Now, what if, right, in that case, it's the friction force, Fk. But look right above. We also know that there's a formula for friction. So I know some of you would rather do it separately, but in this case, I'm going to show you that you can also substitute for friction mu k times normal times distance. Then let's simplify this to times -1. And that's a formula we're going to use for a couple of problems. Okay, so here's our first example. We have a Wile E. Coyote type problem, snowboarder, skateboarder, but they're using a spring to propel themselves, right? You can see that in the picture, but then let's read this summary. So we know a mass. We know that there's a K value, so that must be for our PE of our spring, elastic potential energy. But then it says, oddly, that at B, the velocity is 0. Well, how can that be? Well, it's because during this friction, we are encountering negative work. We're losing all the energy from the system. In fact, at B, the total mechanical energy is 0. Let's set that up. Total mechanical energy at A plus work non-conserved due to friction equals total mechanical energy at B. And at A, there's only spring potential energy. And the formula for spring potential energy is 1/2 kx squared. Okay. On a flat system, remember, normal and gravity are equal and opposite. And friction is backwards. So we're going to add in the formula for work. Force times distance, right? And that's kinetic friction times distance times cosine 180. And what's the total energy at B? And the answer is there is none. There's no energy. So let's start plugging in a little bit further. Mu times normal times distance times -1. We might as well just plug in our -1 for cosine 180. Okay, we know our K value is 4,000. We know our distance is 1.5 meters squared. We're going to do that on our calculator in just a minute. The mu value is given as 0.3. The normal force is equal to mg in this case, but positive, and the distance is the unknown. So it's a little messy, but I bet we can solve for distance in just a minute. So let's see, what's 1/2 of 4,000, right? That's 2,000 times 1.5 squared, 2,000 times 1.5 times 1.5, and that's 4,500 joules. Now let's simplify as much as we can here. I can take 0.3, multiply it by the mass of 60, that's in the top of the problem, times 9.8, the G value, times -1. And we're going to get -176.4 times D. We still don't know how long it takes, basically horizontal distance does it take to skid to a stop. So let's move the 4,500 to the other side. That's negative 4,500. Let's divide by 176.4. And you're going to get a distance of 25.5 meters. So, quarter of a football field roughly. And so those of you who maybe either skateboarded or snowboarded know that if you come to the bottom of a mountain and you no longer are pushing, you have kinetic energy, you have some kind of energy coming to the bottom of the hill, and you start gliding toward maybe the lodge or where you're gonna dump your snowboard or your skis. If you plan it right, you slow down just in time to get to kind of the racks where you store your gear. In this case, what we're proving is that it takes 25.5 meters of gliding or sliding to come to a full stop. So that's our first case of using work. Let's do one more together. Now we have a different scenario. At the top of the hill, it looks like the snowboarder is going to have more than one kind of energy, and they're going to experience work. But here, we do not believe that velocity is zero. Otherwise, I wouldn't say find the velocity. So we're experiencing negative work, but maybe we're not out of energy altogether. So let's start with this. Total mechanical energy at A plus the work that we're going to experience. And yes, it's going to be negative. And then we're going to have some energy left over at B. Because of the height, we have PEG. Because of the velocity, we have kinetic energy. Because of the work, we have kinetic friction times distance times -1. I'm going to give you permission to basically recognize that friction and distance are against each other, right? Cosine of 180. And then at the very end, the only kind of energy that can be left is kinetic energy. It's up to you if you want to start using parentheses to see your energies clearly. That might help when you get these wider or longer problems. Okay, mgh plus 1/2 mv squared. What's the formula for friction? That's mu times normal. Now, you're on a flat piece of ground down here. So we do have a simple case where our gravity and our normal are equal and opposite. So we basically know that our normal force, right, is mg. And the distance is known, right? We've got a distance times -1 equals 1/2 mv squared. So the reason why we didn't go and just do all of our small calculations, right, just go calculate this, is because I noticed that this can be done with a little simplification. The mass in this case is in every single term, and it can be canceled out. Now that happens because there's no spring energy. Let me slide up, let me zoom in. Now we have enough room to finish this problem. We've got 9.8 times a height of 9 meters, plus 1/2 times the velocity squared. That's 9 meters per second quantity squared. Plus mu, 0.6. M is gone, times g, which is 9.8, times a distance of 12 meters, times -1, equals 1/2 of v squared. So really the only difference between the earlier problems and these is this incredibly important term, right, that happens very commonly, right? This is the difference, but it definitely makes the problems more challenging because you have to keep track of many small parts. Work is force times distance times the angle. Then we're substituting in the formula for friction, and I think we can plug and chug from here. So hit pause if you'd like to check your ability to do this, or follow along with me. 9.8 times 9, 88.2. By the way, it's not joules. This is weird. It's going to be meters squared per second squared because the units for 9.8 are meters per second. Multiply that by meters. Plus 1/2 of 9, that's 4.5 meters squared per second squared, plus 0.6, which has no units, times 9.8, which is meters per second squared, times 12 meters, times -1. I get -70.56. And basically what you should notice is that this term should always be negative because it's work against the system. And what are we left with? 1/2 v squared. So let's add it up. (44.28) equals v squared. Let's take the square root of that. And the speed at the bottom of that hill would be 6.7 meters per second. You're going to do a few more, but if you are absent today, this is going to help you get started. Good luck.